Turning to your bill, S2895, at the outset, Senator, I want to express my appreciation to you for your extraordinary leadership and energy and just effort in bringing this highly diverse group of Oregonians together and coming up with a consensus as to how to focus and deal with the challenges on the 6 Eastside Oregon National Forest. This administration strongly supports the goals and the principles of S2895, and I would like to be specific in clarifying why we support this. First, the bill's focal point is on restoration of these 6 national forests. And this is restoration not on a random basis, but this is restoration on a comprehensive land-scale basis. That is the only way we're going to get to the root causes that we're facing today, is a broad, systematic effort. And so that's exactly what needs to be done, and we applaud your focus on a landscape scale effort. Secondly, the bill recognizes that collaboration is essential in getting the work done. And it's very clear to me in my first 4 months on this job that without collaboration, whether it's in Oregon or anywhere else in the United States, we're going to have a very, very hard time accomplishing our goals of restoring the nation's forests. So collaboration is essential, and I think this bill places appropriate energy on bringing people together in a collaborative mode. Thirdly, the bill gives careful direction to the protection of the environment, to the right siting of our road systems on national forest, and the building of science into decision-making. The bill also recognizes the importance of the woods product industry, without which restoration cannot happen. Having a strong, viable, sustainable timber industry is key to providing jobs, to sustaining our rural communities, and to getting this restoration work done. And I wholeheartedly endorse your opening comments, Senator. I think they're right on. The bill also highlights the importance of biofuels and its potential role as part of the restoration process. And the bill also addresses the appeals process and better approaches to resolving conflicts before they turn into litigation. As my written testimony outlines, these principles are very consistent with the themes that Secretary Vilsack has outlined beginning back in his speech last August in Seattle, and the consistent message that USDA has brought to these issues in the past 6 or 7 months. There are certain clarifications and other concerns that we would like to work on, Senator, with you and your staff and the committee staff in the weeks ahead. And I have identified what those concerns are in my written testimony. So I think I'll stop with that, and I would welcome any questions that you might have.
Mr. Sherman, again, that's very helpful and reflective of the kind of cooperation you've shown us and my constituents. I'll have some questions in a moment when your colleague has spoken from BLM. But I think with your opening comments, this ought to send a message across Oregon that we now have a partner at this agency who's going to be hands-on, who's going to work with us. And of course, no piece of legislation is set in stone. I think all of the negotiators in our effort realize that. But to have this kind of cooperation, the opportunities to secure funding through the innovative approach the administration has taken in the budget is the kind of approach my constituents want to hear. So we'll have some questions in a moment, and I thank you for your help and cooperation.
What distinguishes this legislation, I think, is that it does not presuppose a specific ends or a means to achieve them. Rather than declaring, as a matter of legislative fact, that all bugs are bad and all diseases disastrous and all fires are fatal, this legislation rather sets broad goals of how the forest should be managed that most people can agree to and leaves to the Forest Service to manage consistent with the best available science to achieve those goals. You know, in sum, this legislation is not a bill I would have written on my own. It is a product of what you, Senator, could convince a critical mass of the conservation community and the timber industry to agree on. While it's not a perfect bill, it is nonetheless a great bill. And it will provide for new and better goals for national forest management that can result in the conservation and restoration of old-growth forests and watersheds for the east side forests of Oregon, benefiting clean water, fish and wildlife, and helping mitigate the effects of climate change, and leaving these forests and watersheds in a healthier state for future generations.
The bill that we're talking about today came about as a result of months of discussions between representatives of the environmental community and Eastern Oregon lumber manufacturers who are dependent upon federal timber from public lands. The bill contains compromises on the part of all of those who participated in these negotiations. I think it's fair to say that none of us individually would have written this bill the way that it is currently configured. We've worked out an agreeable compromise that will improve the health of Oregon's east side forests and help preserve the livelihood and tax base of our rural communities. Senator Wyden, we appreciate the work that you and your staff have done with our group in bringing this bill to the Senate, and we look forward to working with you constructively in the future.
Thank you very much, Mr. Schelk, and I've been urged to carry around the picture of you and Mr. Kerr standing side by side at the launch of all of this, just to convince the disbelieving that it was on the level. I just reviewed with Mr. Gladdock's, almost the subcommittee's historian at this point, the prospect of the two of you coming together on something, you know, like this. If you had thought back years ago to the prospect of something like that happening, the odds would be infinitesimally small. So it is just great that you two have led this effort. And I just want to note, so it's in the record, that I know both of you took a lot of flack from some of your best friends on this. Both of you...
For the record, taking a lot of flack, but okay.
Taking, and I'm sure that that's the case. And therein lies the effort to try to get breakthroughs. You know, I continue to have the only bipartisan health reform bill here in the United States Senate, and I'm still trying to bring people together on that. So I just want both of you to know how much I appreciate the very constructive way that you all have gone about this. It took a lot of courage to do it, and I know both flack has been directed you in the past, and Mr. Kerr corrects the record to make sure everybody knows you're still taking it. So we're very, very appreciative.
Finally, I want to say, I've worked in the dry forests of Eastern Oregon for over 40 years. And we've seen, with the help of Andy Kerr and John Schelk, a remarkable coming together of different interests that have helped craft and support this legislation. I hope we will not lose this convergence of views in sustaining the wonderful forests of the East Side.
Very well said, and I think ensuring that we build on something of a genuine breakthrough, as you've described, is exactly our charge, and very well stated, Dr. Johnson.